Hello students. The topic of this video lesson is the Glossary of Musical Terms. Absolute music. An instrumental music that is free of a program and exists purely for its own sake. It means that if there is a program in the music, it's called program music. If there is no program in this music, it's called absolute music. A cappella. Choral music with no instrumental accompaniment. Choral means a choir music, means voices are singing, so it's a singing music. The accent is a music articulation, momentarily stressing a note with a dynamic attack. You see a music notation, and if there is nothing around it, there is nothing above, there is nothing below of the note, it's this one, and it's called separate note. If I say, I would play it normal. You see detached notes, so the notes are detached from each other. Now when I connect the two notes with a line like that, it means a slur or a legato. So there is no gap between the notes. The one is in the document. It's called accent. This one with a dot on the top or bottom, depends. If it's like this, the dot is gonna be the below the note. It means that it's a staccato short. Adagio is an Italian word in terms of tempo, like how fast is the music, and it means it's a slow tempo. Allegro is a lively, fast tempo. Alto is a low-ranged female voice or the second lowest instrumental range. Andante is a moderate speed, is a moderate tempo, like a walking speed, because andare means to walk in Italian. Aria, in English air, is a solo song with instrumental accompaniment, an important element of an opera or a cantata or an oratorio. So I say like the aria of the Queen of the Night from the Magic Flute opera composed by Mozart. It's like a movement. Like the classical symphony consists of 4 movements, as we learned. Or a concerto consists of 3 movements. Now in the opera and the cantata and the oratorios is not divided for movements, rather divided depends on the performing apparatus who are involved in that part of the opera. So we have, let's say, arias, and we have choruses or choir, as we learned before. Art song is a genre, a musical setting of artistic poetry for solo voice accompanied by piano or orchestra sometimes. A German song is a lied or lieder in plural. A French song is a chanson. An Italian song is called canzona. A ballet, a genre, a programmatic theatrical work for dancers, and orchestra. The difference between opera and ballet is that at the ballet there is no singing. Very rarely there is some singing, but mostly there is no singing especially surely not on stage at the ballet. Bar or measure. Bar is in British English and measure is in the American English. A rhythmic grouping set off in written music by a vertical bar line. Let's say it seems that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 counts and divided with a bar line. Yeah, and I put the time signature just right after the clef. Baritone, moderately low male voice. As we learned, this is the middle male voice between the tenor, which is the highest one, and the bass, which is the lowest one. Bass drum, the lowest sounding non-pitch percussion instrument. Because this is the bass drum, it's huge. So left hand plays the bass, right hand plays the chords. You see that the viola da gamba has the same role than the left hand of the harpsichord. Let's see. Yeah, if you see, it's basically the same. And we are building up a chords with the help of the right hand. The bassoon, the lowest sounding regular instrument of the woodwind family, a double reed instrument. The beat is a musical pulse. Let's go back to our sample. Time signature is 4/4, that it means that I have 4, then it means that I have 4 pulses in a bar. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 4 counts, or 4 beats. A binary form, a form comprised of 2 distinctly opposing sections, A, vs, or versus B. So the A line and B line. This is the binary form. Brass instruments, powerful metallic instruments with a mouthpiece and tubing that must be blown into by the player, such as trumpet, trombone, French horn, tuba, or etc. An unaccompanied section of virtuosic display played by a soloist in a concerto. A type of strict imitation created by strict echoing between a melodic leader and subsequent followers. A cantata, which is a genre, a composition in several movements written for chorus, soloists, and orchestra, traditionally religious work. Who was the composer who actually wrote hundreds of cantatas? It's Johann Sebastian Bach. Cantata is something like a little bit like opera-ish, but much shorter than the opera. A cello, you all know this, the violoncello or cello, the tenor-ranged instrument of the modern string family, an abbreviation for violoncello. So it's the same meaning. Chamber music, which is a genre, music performed by a small group of players when one player plays one part in the music or one part of the music. The chance music, it's a modern music and a modern musical genre, a modern manner of composition in which some or all the work is left to chance. A chord, a harmonic combination that has 3 or more pitches sounding simultaneously. The basic chord is a triad, which is, if we are in Do major, is the first, the third, and the fifth note of the scale of the Do major. And if you play this together, then this is a chord, which consists of 3 notes. That's why it's triad, because 3 means 3. Then it's 4, a chorus, a fairly large choral group. So lots of singers are singing together. Do you remember what is SATB chorus or SCTB choir? It's the same, chorus or choir. It has the same meaning. SATB choir means there is a choir when the soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. A chromaticism, a harmonic or melodic movement by half-step intervals. What is it? It means that I'm going up or down with half steps. Or a clarinet, the tenor-ranged instrument of the woodwind family, which is a single reed instrument. A computer music, music in which the composition and or performance is controlled by a computer. This is also part of a modern music. A concerto, which is a genre, the general term for a multi-movement work for soloist or soloists and orchestra, regarding that the solo instrumentals is a group or one person. We call concerto grosso when we are talking about soloists, so more than one solo performer and the orchestra, or the concerto solo, which has only one person who plays the solo part with the orchestra. Conductor, the leader of a performing group of musicians. So the one who is standing at the middle and he is the maestro or the conductor who leads the full orchestra. Counterpoint is a complex polyphonic texture combining 2 or more independent melodies. We were talking about a counterpoint composition technique regarding or in connection with the fugue, which has been composed by Johann Sebastian Bach. The cymbals are a percussion instrument usually consisting of 2 circular brass plates struck together as a pair. Dotted note, a written note with a dot to the right of it. The dot adds half the rhythmic duration to the note's original value. And the dot makes the length of the note longer with a half of its value. So I have one count and this dot means it's a half count. So it's like a 1.5 count note. Double bass, the lowest sounding instrument of the modern string family, as we discussed before. Downbeat, the first beat of a musical measure, usually accented more strongly than other beats. Why we call it downbeat? Because if we have something before the first beat of the music that we play, we call it upbeat. Accent is on the first count of the bar, and this is something which leads you to the first count of the bar. So if I want to play it, I don't put the accent for the upbeat and I put the accent to the downbeat. So up, downbeat, right? 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Dynamics, the musical element of relative musical loudness or quietness. We have a dynamic from extremely soft until the extremely loud. Pianissimo, piano, mezzo piano, mezzo forte, forte, fortissimo. English horn, a tenor oboe, a richly nasal sounding double reed woodwind instrument. Ensemble, a group of musical performance. Étude is a French word and it means study. A study piece designed to help a performer master a particular technique. Frédéric Chopin composed quite a number of etudes, and also Paganini at the Romantic era composed quite a lot of etude or study, which even are played in the concert halls in programs because it's like a musical piece. It sounds like a musical piece. It's fantastic, but it has its etude or its study form, which is about to improve the musician's technique or technical skills to develop. A flute, a metal tubular instrument that is the soprano instrument of the standard woodwind family. A form, the elemental category describing the shape, design of a musical work or movement. Let's say we just call the binary form. What is it? Is the A-B form. It's like a plan that a composer follows when he or she make his composition or compose his or her music. A film music is a genre, a music that serves either as background or foreground material for a movie. A fortepiano, an early prototype of the modern piano designed to play both loud and quiet. And it came after the harpsichord, so a fortepiano came into the music history and the classical era. French horn, a valved brass instrument of medium-low range, which is an alto bass. Genre, I've mentioned this word a lot. What is it? A category of musical composition a specific classification of a musical work. Let's say it's an opera, it's an oratorio, it's a concerto, it's a lead or art song. These are all genres. Jazz is a genre. Gong, also called tom-tom, a non-pitch percussion instrument made of a large metal plate struck with a mallet. Grave, it's a solemn tempo, so it's a tempo word. We know already that tempo means time. So how fast is that music? And the grave is a slow, solemn tempo. A Gregorian chant, which is a genre, is a monophonic, non-metered melody set to Latin sacred texts. A guitar, a six-string fretted instrument. The guitar is a plucked instrument because they are plucking it when they play on it. What frets means, do you see these lines? Right? These are the frets. If I say unfretted instrument, let's say the violin, the viola, the oud, which doesn't have the lines. The lines actually are showing the half notes. Half step, the smallest interval in the Western system of equal temperament. Half step is a semitone. Yeah, the chromatic scale, which is an octave, consists of 12 half steps. Harmony, the elemental category describing vertical combinations of pitches. I have a melody. And I'm going to harmonize this. A harp, a plucked instrument having strings stretched on a triangular frame. A harpsichord, I already said, an ancient keyboard instrument whose sound is produced by a system of levered picks that pluck its metal strings, common in the Renaissance and Baroque eras. A homophonic texture, a main melody supported by chord, let's say the one that I played before, or a texture in which voices on different pitches sing the same words simultaneously. Imitation, a polyphonic texture in which material is presented then echoed from voice to voice. We were talking a lot about the imitation during the Baroque period. Let's say Bach inventions like the two-part and the three-part inventions, or the fugue also is like an imitation. It's based on imitation. Improvisation is on-the-spot creation of music while it is being performed. Incidental music we learned in connection with Felix Mendelssohn. He composed an incidental music, which is most famous part is the Wedding March. And what is incidental music? It's music performed during a theatrical play. So Mendelssohn composed it for, remember, for the Shakespeare play. Interval, the measured distance between two musical pitches. The name shows that from the first note and between the two notes, say a perfect fifth, how many notes are? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, that's why it's called perfect fifth, or perfect octave, or major second, major third, perfect fourth. Jazz is a genre, a style of American modern popular music combining African and Western musical characteristics. The kettle drums, see the timpani, it's a pitched percussion instrument. Pitched means that it's tuned, so it has a pitch. Oppositionally, if it's an unpitched percussion instrument, let's say snare drum, the central note, chord, or scale of a musical composition or movement. C major, or if we have one sharp, or DS, which is fa DS, or F sharp, we are in G major. So first we get the clef and then the key signature. A keyboard instrument, let's say this one as well, any instrument whose sound is initiated by pressing a series of keys with the fingers. Piano, harpsichord, organ, synthesizer are the most common types. So anything which are having keys is a keyboard instrument. Largo is a broad tempo, and it's very slow. Libretto is an Italian word and it means little book. The song or spoken text of an opera. The lute, an ancient pear-shaped plucked instrument widely used in the Renaissance and Baroque eras. The madrigal, we know this genre, a composition on a short secular poem. What secular means? Okay, sacred is religious, secular is non-religious music. So a secular or non-religious poem sung by a small group of unaccompanied singers. What unaccompanied means? A cappella, right? A cappella means singing without accompaniment. If I'm only touching the white keys and start from C or Do, Mass, which in Latin it's missa, is a genre, a sacred choral composition which follows the elements of the religious service of the Catholic Church. Mazurka, a type of Polish dance in triple meter, sometimes used by Chopin in his piano works. What triple meter means? What meter means? Meter means is a time signature, right? Triple meter, it means like a time signature which has 3 counts. Let's say 3 per 4. Medieval, a term used to describe things related to the Middle Ages, which was around from 450 until 1450. So it is like the first recognized period of the music history, of the Western music history, which called Dark Age, Medieval Period, or Middle Ages. It all means the same. And so an Italian prefix that means medium. So if I say a medium soprano, it's a mezzo soprano. This is La, La, and this is the natural minor. Now we know that there are three types of minors. It's the natural minor. The next one is the melodic minor. And the harmonic minor. Minuet, an aristocratic dance in 3/4 meter or 3/4 time signature. Now, what is modulation? The process of changing from one musical key to another. So it means if I'm in Do major, let's say, so from Do major or from C major, I went to G major. I modulated to G major. Monophonic texture, a single line texture with no harmony. When did we learn monophonic texture? The very beginning of the music history, the Western music history, in connection with the Gregorian chants. Motet, a polyphonic vocal piece set to a sacred Latin text that is not from the Roman Catholic Mass. And when? During the Renaissance era. Motive, the smallest musical section. Let's say, if I play this, this is one of the most famous motifs of the Western music history, as from Beethoven, classical era, and Symphony number 5. Movement, a complete independent division of a larger work. Nationalism. Nationalism, we learned it in connection with the Romantic era. Musical styles that include folk songs, dances, legends, language, or other national imaginary relating to a composer's native country. Who was a nationalistic composer? Tell me some. Chopin. Sure. Franz Liszt. Notation, a system for writing music down. Let's say all the things that I just wrote down. It's a notation. Or note in music notation, a black or white oval-shaped symbol with or without a stem or flag. What is the stem or flag? Yes, this is the stem. And this is the flag. Oboe, a nasal sounding double reed instrument that is the alto of the standard woodwind family. Octave, a musical interval between two pitches, which is 12 semitones. You already talked about. Octa means 8. A large-scale, fully staged dramatic theatrical work involving solo singers, choir or chorus, and orchestra. The oratorio is also a genre, a large-scale sacred work for solo singers, chorus, and orchestra that is not staged. The orchestra is a large instrumental ensemble comprised of strings, woodwinds, brasses, and percussion. Organ, a wind keyboard instrument, so it's like a hybrid instrument, usually with many sets of pipes controlled from 2 or more manuals, keyboards, manual, another name for keyboard, including a set of pedals played by the organist's feet. The ostinato, a short rhythmic melodic idea that is repeated exactly over and over through a musical section or work. Now, if you look at the music, this is the harmonic progression. Now, this harmonic progression goes on during the whole piece. Let's see here. So somehow the right hand takes over the harmonic progression. Yes, what is next? Yeah, if you see this here, it's actually the same chord than this. If you see this, the next one, is the same chord progression than this. The overture is a genre, a one-movement orchestral introduction to an opera. So it's like the very first thing. If you go to an opera house, listen to an opera, this is the very first thing which you will hear. It's played by the orchestra. There is no singing during this part. I could say this is a movement of the opera. This is the first movement, like an orchestral introduction of the opera, which includes, by the way, all the themes of and the mood. So it's like put you to this mood, the opera mood, the story at the beginning of the opera. Percussion instrument, an instrument on which sound is generated by striking its surface with an object. Phrase, a small musical unit, which is a subsection of a melody. So I say that we have the melody. You can divide it for different sections, which are phrases, and you can divide the phrases to motifs, which are the smallest musical unit. Piano, an instrument, a versatile modern keyboard instrument that makes sound via fingered keys that engage felt tipped hammers that strike the strings. Pitch, the relative highness or lowness of a musical sound based on frequency of vibration. I have low pitch sound, and I have high pitch sound, and I have high pitch sounds. Polyphonic texture when two or more independent melodic lines are sounding at the same time. When was polyphony very popular? Tell me an example for a polyphonic music or polyphonic texture. A prelude, a genre, is a free-form, one-movement piece or an introductory movement to a complex composition. Prepared piano is connected with the modern music, a modern technique invented by John Cage, in which various natural objects like spoons, erasers, screws, etc., are strategically inserted between the strings of a piano in order to create unusual sounds. Presto means a very fast tempo. Program music is a genre, instrumental music intended to tell a specific story or set a specific mood or extra musical image. What is the opposition of program music? It's called absolute music. Remember at the beginning of this lesson. Range, the distance between the lowest and highest possible notes of an instrument, voice or melody. The voice range of the violin is from Sol or G until the highest note of the violin until this note. So from here to here. Or the range of the piano. My piano is a 77 key electric piano. Here till here. Recorder, an ancient wooden flute. Of course, originally it's from wooden, but now they do it plastic or wooden or metal sometimes. Reed, a flexible strip of cane or metal that vibrates in the mouthpiece of a wind instrument. Rhythm, the element of music as it moves through time. Yeah, so we have longer, shorter elements of a music, or we have longer and shorter notes. Let's say quarter note, 8 notes, 16 note, half note. Saxophone, a family of woodwind instruments with a single reed and brass body, commonly used in jazz. A scale, a family of pitches arranged in an ascending and descending order. Ascending scale, which is going up, and descending scale. Sequence, the immediate repetition of a melodic passage on a higher or lower level or pitch. Remember for the Alberti bass? Now the sequence starts. It's finishing here. So it's like a 4-time sequence. First starts with A, and then the same, one note lower, and one note lower. And as it continues, you will think, and then it continues. Written notation that vertically aligns all instrumental vocal parts used in a composition, also music, sheet music, etc. The score. This is for solo viola, right? Here is a score, but I guess you have seen already score in your life before. Snare drum, a non-pitched drum with two heads stretched over a metal shell. The lower head has metal wires strapped across it to produce a rattling sound. Now if I take off that wires, it sounds like a simple drum. See? You see, these are the metal wires. These are the metal wires. Snare drum. Sonata is a genre, a classic multi-movement work for a piano or for one instrument with piano accompaniment. Connected with which period? The classical era. Especially the sonata form. The common first movement form of classic multi-movement instrumental works, characterized by three dramatic structural divisions within a single movement, which is exposition, development, and recapitulation. Now, soprano, the highest ranged woman voice, or the highest sounding instrument of an instrumental family. Let's say the violin is the highest bow string instrument, like I would say the soprano bow string instrument is the violin. And I would say that the alto bow string instrument is the viola. A string quartet is a chamber ensemble of two violins, viola and cello, devised in the early classic era. Who was the composer who had a lot of composition of string quartet and also symphony? And we talk that he is the father of the classical symphony, the father of the classical string quartet. It was Joseph Haydn. The subject, the main melodic idea of a fugue. The main melodic idea of the fugue, or the theme, the very first theme that you hear, it's the subject. Suite, genre, a collection of dance movements. When did we learn about suite, orchestral suite, or solo suite? Remember, at the Baroque era. At the Baroque era. Symphonic poem is a genre, single movement programmatic work for orchestra. A symphony is a genre, a multi-movement work for orchestra, which is first movement is written in sonata form. Synthesizer, a modern electronic keyboard instrument. Like that. Tempo is an Italian word, means time, the speed of the musical beat. A tenor, a high-ranged male voice. A texture is how the melodic, rhythmic, and harmonic materials are combined in a composition. Remember about the different textures, right? Monophonic texture, polyphonic texture, and homophonic texture. Theme, the main self-contained melody of a musical composition, is called the theme. Timpani, various-sized kettle-shaped pitched drums, a tenor instrument of the percussion family. Remember tenor? So we have the sopran, which is the highest one, and alto, which is the medium one. The tenor is the third. Tone, color, or timbre, the unique characteristic sound of a musical instrument or voice. The transposition, shifting a piece to a different key. So let's say originally Mozart Sonata number 15 is written in Do major, it seems, or C major. I can transpose it to another key, let's say to Re major or Mi major, so D major or E major. I can transpose it in order to play it in another instrument and play a transposition. Trombone, a family of brass instruments that change pitch via a movable slide. Trumpet, a valved instrument that is the soprano of the modern brass family. The tuba, a large valved brass instrument, the bass of the modern brass family. Tutti is oppositional to solo. We learned what solo means. Solo means alone. So if somebody plays alone, a performer, it means that she or he plays solo. The tutti in Italian means for all or everyone, so it's an indication for all performers to play together. So in a concerto, let's say, there are solo and tutti parts. An oud is a lute-like, pear-shaped, fretless stringed instrument commonly used in music from the Middle East. Virtuoso, we learned it in connection with the Romantic era, a performer of extraordinary ability. Vivace, it's a tempo sign, a lively tempo. It's a very fast tempo, actually. Waltz, an aristocratic ballroom dance in triple meter that flourished in the Romantic period. Whole step, an interval twice as large as a half step. This is a whole step between Do and Re because it consists of two chromatic steps. Right? Another name is, for the full step or the whole step, is a tone or a major second as an interval. Woodwind instrument, an instrument that produces its sound from a column of air vibrating within a multi-holed tube. Word painting. In vocal music, musical gestures that reflect the specific meaning of words, a common aspect of the Renaissance madrigal. And the last is a xylophone, a pitched percussion instrument consisting of flat wooden bars on a metal frame that are struck by a hard mallet. I hope that this video lesson helped you to understand better the glossary of the musical terms. Thanks for watching this video and see you next time. Bye bye.